I always look at it like buying a turbocharger for your car when the car doesn't even have oil in it yet. There's Johnny, he never follows through with anything. And you're like, no, fuckhead, I'm just trying to get to my goal, and it's never a straight linear path. The brain wasn't broken, my system was crashed. And so a lot of times people think that rock bottom is the worst part, but I don't think it is. The scariest part is the in between, knowing something's wrong, but you're too comfortable enough to actually make a change right now because it's not as urgent. So you always put it off to tomorrow and say, I'll get to that problem later. I had this a lot with the depression and the panic attacks and the anxiety, and my relationships were falling apart. And it was one of those where they were bad, but they weren't terrible. I wasn't on rock bottom yet, so I didn't really feel the need to actually take that next step. And it wasn't until I really hit rock bottom in a lot of these that actually made me go to the next step up. And I was using these 8 rules to actually get that next step to where I needed to put everything back together. Because the entire time I thought my brain was broken, but it turns out that the brain wasn't broken, my system was crashed. And the beautiful thing about systems is they can be rebuilt. For those who don't know me, I'm Steve, and I worked as a disaster relief specialist, helping people rebuild their lives while depression was slowly tearing mine apart. So I had to spend the better part of 2 decades understanding how my brain works so I can rewire it to become the best father that I could be to my son. And now I tell everybody all the ins and outs of what I've learned so you don't have to struggle through it the way that I did, because I guarantee you there's somebody in your life that deserves the best version of you. Okay, jumping right in. Rule number 1 was stop announcing and start proving. A lot of people think that it's good to tell people what you're doing because it gives you a sense of accountability. So now that you have it out in the open, people are going to keep you accountable, and it'll keep you more on task, which yes is good, but I always deal in the sense of the brain. In the brain, we have what is known as dopamine that is given to you when anything feel good happens. Something feels good, you get dopamine squirted into your brain. Dopamine is responsible for the motivation and drive for certain things. So when you're pursuing a goal, you're pursuing that goal in the hopes of the dopamine on the other side. When you're going through with something and you're constantly telling people about it, people are going to be encouraging you because people are generally supportive. And when they're supportive, they say, hey, good job, attaboy, give you a pat on the back. And then your brain goes, hey, that feels pretty good. Squirt, squirt, squirt. You get the dopamine. But then once you've had the dopamine, you've already gotten the reward, and you're less inclined to keep pushing for that next interval of your goal. A great example of this is like getting paid before you do a job. I know that when I used to build lowriders back in the day in my buddy's garage, we would get paid for certain jobs before we even completed them, like right when they're getting started. And this was great at the beginning because you get a nice influx of cash, but then you're working at these things and you're on month 2, and then you're really starting to slog along, and you're like, this is taking forever, and heaven forbid if something goes wrong, then that just tacks onto the time and you're wondering even if it's worth it. And that's kind of the same thing that goes on in your brain, because a lot of times you'll be able to pivot a lot easier, because there's also a thing, I always love the saying, the less a man makes declarative statements, the less apt he is to look foolish in retrospect, which ultimately means the less you tell your plans, the less likely you're going to look stupid when you come back and somebody's like, oh, I thought you were doing this thing. And you're like, well, yeah, I was doing that, but I kind of pivoted to this thing because it wasn't really working. And then you just become the person that's like, oh, there's Johnny, he never follows through with anything. And you're like, no, kid, I'm just trying to get to my goal, and it's never a straight linear path. So a lot of times, if you keep things to yourself, you won't have to worry about the naysayers as much, as well as you don't have to worry about that reward system getting hijacked, which really hinders your goal progression. Rule 2 would to be pick your first domino. So a lot of times everything is going to feel broken at once. Your relationships are fucked up, your health is jacked up, your career is in the shambles, you don't have any money, your mental health is like crumbling by the wayside. Everything is connected and it's all overwhelming. If you try to fix everything, you're just going to get into all or nothing thinking, which equals paralysis, which equals getting stuck in the spot. So think of it like dominoes. You don't want to go after the biggest domino, you just want to go after the closest one, because this is a thing where there's different camps on this, and everything has its own use case. A lot of people say swallow the frog, which means take your biggest, ugliest thing that you have to do for the day and get it out of the way. Yes, I agree with that. But when you are dealing with something, You sometimes, like, there's a speech by Admiral McRaven that talks about making your bed in the morning, because when you make your bed, it's a small win and a small action, which then builds to bigger actions as the day progresses, which is very important. But you also need to balance this, because let's say that your engine's seizing up because it needs an oil change, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to start by cleaning my windows. So you really got to balance this whole thing. But generally, if you pick the closest domino to you instead of the biggest one, it's going to be a lot easier to keep going forward on momentum to get the bigger ones completed. And then once you're in the mode of actually tackling jobs on a day-to-day basis and tackling your goals and pursuing forward, then you can be like, okay, I feel really good today. I'm going to take on the biggest domino. That way I can get it off my plate, get this thing that's really needed to take care of taken care of, and I can really start hammering through a lot of the stuff that needs to get done. Don't wait for perfect conditions, just get something moving forward. Okay, rule number 3 is to act like the person that you want to become, because most guys wait to feel confident or motivated, and it's really messed up, because that's not how the brain works. You don't become motivated and confident and then do the thing. You have to do the thing, and then the result is what makes you motivated and confident to keep moving forward and to do more bigger things. And this is important because the brain learns by doing, not for waiting for permission for the right feeling. Because think about it this way, when I talk about act like the person you're becoming, I don't really mean like method acting in the sense of pretending to be somebody else. What you want to do is you're trying on your future self's habits, and you want to see how they fit, because the person that you need to become is going to be the person that does all these things. If you want to be in shape, you need to be the person that looks after your nutrition and your exercise and all that jazz. But you don't have to have this all or nothing thinking where when you are actually doing it, you're like, this is what's forever. No, you're trying this habit on for a short period of time. Try it on for a month to 3 months, and then you can have a good idea of what this life is going to be like. Because a lot of the things that I did not fix. Let's put it this way. My anxiety was not fixed right away. I had to act despite feeling anxious, but my anxiety lost its power over time because I just started pretending to be this person who didn't get anxious in scenarios. And there's a lot of times where people are like, wow, you look really confident in here. I'm like, I'm fucking shaking in my boots. I am so uncomfortable right now, but I'm not going to show it because I'm training my brain to to try on this skin of this person that I want to become. And then my brain starts learning about this and he's like, this is how a confident person who doesn't have anxiety acts like. This is how I need to act to get this result. So ask yourself, what does future you do in the morning under stress, in conflict? And you want to start doing these things now, even if you have to fake it. Okay, rule number 4 is designing your environment for success. So relying on willpower is fucking crazy because it is a finite resource, and generally day to day it's already running low. So an environment that you're in is never neutral. It's either positive or negative. It's either working for you or working against you. You want to design the architecture around your day so that you're designing which choices are default. So whether that's putting a water bottle on your desk to drink more water, whether it's putting your phone in the next room when you sleep because you don't want it to be there in the morning when you scroll. Like generally, if you're thirsty and you go down to the thing, going back to the water bottle explanation, if you're thirsty and you go down to the fridge and then you're like, what is here? Oh, the water is there, but man, that pop looks a lot better. Man, that beer looks mighty tasty. And you go for that. Whereas if you put the water bottle in front of you, you're like, oh, I'm thirsty, and there's no going down into that area. The water's right there. You take a sip, you go about your business. If you're designing everything around you for success, it's going to be a lot easier to stay true to your goals. So look around your house right now. Look around your vicinity at this moment. If you can change little things here and there to make the things you want to do easier and the other things with more friction, it's a lot easier when you set up your environment for success. Okay, rule number 5. Make it yours or you won't stick with it. And I found this a lot because cookie cutter systems completely ignore that people have different schedules, different brains, different constraints. And A lot of times it really frustrates me to see, because I fell prey to this a lot of times, where somebody's like, this is the answer, this is what you need to do, and I go, oh, okay, well obviously this is what I'm doing wrong this whole time, I haven't been doing this. But then there's so many variables that nobody takes into account that it's not black and white, it's very gray. And this is what I like to tell people who work with me, where we have all these different things, and I say, don't take everything that I do. Take a couple things, try them out. If they work, adopt them to your life. The stuff that doesn't work for your life, figure out how to retrofit it to your life, or completely toss it to the side, because not everything is going to be useful to you. Like, the fundamentals are the fundamentals for a reason, but generally it's very nuanced how you can do stuff. For example, for me, I have an ADHD brain, so it's already low functioning with the dopamine system, so I need quality sleep. If I don't get quality sleep, I have to have a cold shower the next day. It's one or the other. So it's one of those, like, yes, we need to look after our sleep, but some people are in the work schedule where they can only get like 4 or 5, 6 hours of sleep a night, and that's not enough because they're working so much. Okay, that's fine. Figure out the trade-off. If like the sleep doesn't work out, the sleep schedule can't be dialed in, find other ways to replenish that dopamine and get the benefits of the sleep until you can actually figure out an actual proper sleep schedule. Same thing with journaling. I have a 4-part journaling thing that I do that's super simple to remove thoughts from your brain when you're ruminating on something. But like, a lot of times somebody's like, well, I don't have a pen and a piece of paper. I don't have a pen and a piece of paper around. Like, how am I going to do this? It's like, pull out your phone. You have a voice recorder. Fucking record it on there. Like, there's certain ways to do something, and then there's a million other ways to do the same thing. How I do it is not going to be the way that everybody's going to do it. Take the idea, the core concept behind it, and retrofit it to fit your life. Okay, rule number 6 is to protect your momentum ruthlessly. And this is very important because progress is never, and I mean never, linear. You're going to have good days. You're going to have rough days. They're both going to happen. And when I was doing this, if I kept face planning every single time I had a misstep, I would have never accomplished anything. Momentum is way easier to maintain than building from zero. Think of it like pushing a car. When you're pushing out a car at the beginning, dead weight is fighting you every step of the way, and you're fighting, you're clawing for every inch. But once the car gets moving, it's a lot easier to keep it moving, right? So in the beginning, you need to realize that this is going to take maximum effort, whether you're trying to lose fat, gain muscle, work on your mental health, really crush it to make $1 million. Like, you are going to have to bust your ass. But as you're going through, shit's going to go wrong. It's not always going to work out the way you want it to, and that's okay, because that's all part of the process. For example, let's say you're trying to quit smoking, and then one night you go to the bar and you're hacking a bunch of darts. Don't go into the next day and go, well, I fucked that up, I might as well start smoking again. No, that was a bad day. Get back on the momentum. I know that the guys that I talk to that make it, and this was so true for myself, they are not the ones that never have bad days. They're the ones that had bad days but kept pushing forward despite them. So pick your non-negotiables, figure out what they are, and then figure out what the bare minimum is for them, and then do that on those really rough days, because that is going to maintain that you have the momentum going forward. I always say that I don't care if I have a day where nothing gets done, as long as I don't undo any of my hard work. Rule number 7 is to track the process, not the outcome, because a lot of people really focus on the outcome. They focus on the scale, the bank account, the relationship status. Everything is just pointing at why they're still stuck, because outcomes, they lag. You won't see results if you're just waiting for the outcomes. You need to really focus on the whole process, because otherwise nothing will look like it's working when actually it is behind the scenes. And great example for this is weight loss. When you're getting into weight loss, if you're sitting there day to day going, oh, I'm up 2 pounds. Oh, now I'm down a pound. Oh, now I'm up 3 pounds. And you're going up and down and up and down. It really screws with your head, because you're just focused on this outcome of, oh, I need to lose 10 pounds. That's your outcome. But if you're just like, okay, this is the process, I'm going to focus on the process and track along the way, then 3 months down the line, you go, huh, I actually did lose the weight that I needed to, and I didn't rack my brain freaking out the entire way through, stressing myself out. And now that I have all this information, I look at this information, and even though it's going like this, over time, you see it going like this in the direction that it's supposed to be. And you will not ever see that if you're only focused on the outcome. So track one behavior for like 1 to 3 months and then review the data. Adjust what needs to be adjusted and then re-engage. Do not be judgmental about this because it's just data. Data is something that is very important because it gives us information on what is working or what isn't working. It doesn't mean that the outcome is not ever going to work. It just means that we might need to tweak because, as I said, progress is never linear. If you track this, you will see things a lot more. If you track your months, you won't have bad years. If you track your weeks, you won't have bad months. If you track your days, you won't have bad weeks. Rule number 8 is you need to understand that you either win or you learn. Because one thing that's true is you're going to encounter a lot of setbacks, and a lot of people see setbacks as proof that things will never work out in their favor, which is crazy because I was like this to a T. As soon as I was pushing for something and I had some setback, I was like, well, this is why things are never going to work. And then I'd spiral, and then it would just get worse and everything comes off of the rims. Setbacks are data. That's it. Quitting is the only actual loss. If you can actually understand that it's the chapters that are going on day to day, it's not the whole book. If you watch a good story, a good movie, anything like that, the main character is going to go through a lot of setbacks. They're going to struggle, but that's why we cheer for them. And that's why it's such a great feeling when they actually succeed in what they're doing. The only way you can lose is if you quit, because if you keep pushing over a long enough timeline, everybody will succeed. So just simply do the 3-step loop. Celebrate your wins when you get them, extract the lessons for the times that you don't, and keep moving forward without dwelling on anything. That means the bad and the good. And actually, while we're thinking about this, as I'm shooting this video, I just thought of another one. Rule number 9, fix the basics before you fund the upgrades. Because people think that they need money to fix their lives. The fancy programs, the supplement stack, the 6-figure coaches. But the problem with that is that people wait, they save, they keep telling themselves that I'll do this once I can afford it. But sometimes that time never comes around and that it never gets done. Or even worse, you actually do have the money and shell it out, and then it just becomes either an expensive distraction or it becomes something that you purchased, a year lapses for it, you don't get any benefit out, and you're like, wow, I'm glad I spent $200 on that thing. I always look at it like buying a turbocharger for your car when the car doesn't even have oil in it yet. Focus on the basics, and then you can actually look into funding the upgrades later. Because cold showers cost nothing. Taking a walk around the block costs nothing. Dialing in your sleep schedule costs nothing, and it will give you 80% of the results that you're looking for free. Run those for 3 months, see how they fit for you, and then afterwards you will know and you'll have data so that if you're still stuck, now you know where money might help. All in all, these rules do not give you an overnight success, but they will provide you a system that will slowly start building proof. And if you want help out with any of this, we have our community Phoenix Kaizen on Skool, link in the description if you want to check that out. Otherwise, if you got any use out of this video, give a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're looking for something else, there's a video about to pop up on your right that I'm sure you'll enjoy watching. Until next time, keep moving forward.